Welcome back to another gushcola video. My name is Cody and today I want to talk about a little indie game called Halls of Torment. Halls of Torment just came out on May 24th, so it's only been out for about 3 weeks, but the game already has an overwhelmingly positive review score on Steam with 6,198 reviews at the time that I am recording this video. I am sure that more positive reviews will flood in before I finish editing and uploading this video though. So anyways, what is Halls of Torment? Halls of Torment is a game still currently in early access, but don't let that frighten you. What we currently have is an essentially finished game, and it is well worth the $4.99 price tag. Undoubtedly more content will be added to this game before it has a full release, but I can assure you that there is already enough content in this game, and I would certainly expect the price to rise as the developers reach a full release of the game. The devs have stated that they hope this game spends no longer than 6 months in early access, and they have hinted that the price may increase depending on the content that they end up adding to the final version. That gives you about 5 months to grab this game for the cheap $4.99 price tag, and I absolutely urge you to do so. Now, to give you a brief rundown of what this game is about, I'm going to read straight off the Steam store page. Halls of Torment is a horde survival game in a pre-rendered retro look reminiscent of RPGs from the late 90s. Choose one of many heroes and descend into the deadly Halls of Torment. Fight unholy terrors from beyond and survive wave after wave until you face one of the tormented lords. Advance your hero with character traits, abilities, and items. Create a new powerful build during each run. Explore various underground expanses and find new powerful items that enable you to venture even deeper into the abyss. Halls of Torment features quick and casual runs of maximum 30 minutes. Old school pre-rendered art style, a quest-based meta progression, a large selection of diverse abilities, traits, and items, which all enable you to create interesting synergies, diverse bosses featuring unique mechanics and attack patterns, items that can be retrieved to the overworld and used to customize future runs, dozens of interesting characters allowing many different playstyles. You can unlock and explore multiple interesting and challenging underground worlds, and there are fully interactable environments that allow you to use traps and hazards to your advantage. Now, some of these features aren't fully fleshed out into the game quite yet. I believe that there are currently only 7 playable characters in the early access version of this game, but they definitely plan to flesh this out more. In the early access version of the game, there are 3 stages with unique environments. It is very clear to me that they plan to add more stages in the future. There are 7 playable characters. There are 11 different and upgradable abilities, 12 unique bosses, 30 unique monsters, 14 blessings making you stronger for each attempt, 50 different items that you can unlock and retrieve through the well, 500 traits that upgrade characters and their abilities, as well as more than 150 quests that you can complete to unlock cool new features in the game. All of the footage that you will see in this video is from the first stage because it's my favorite stage. Probably mostly because it is the easiest stage. Now I'm going to be honest with you, I currently have 7.5 hours of gameplay, and I haven't actually completed a single stage yet. I've earned 57 of the 201 achievements, but I've not managed to conquer a final boss yet. I don't even think I've seen a final boss because I haven't managed to survive 30 minutes. I've gotten pretty close, but I haven't successfully done it yet. I need more blessings, I need better items. I gotta unlock some of the better abilities and traits and stuff like that, because they're all locked behind the progression on the quest board, which, like I said, is 150 plus. Given that there are currently 201 achievements in the game, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that there are 201 quests, because it seems like there's an achievement for every quest. So the fact that I haven't managed to see or beat a final boss on any of the floors, not even this easiest floor yet, might mean that I suck, or maybe it just means that this game is very difficult. Halls of Torment is certainly more difficult than the game that it will inevitably be most compared to, which is Vampire Survivors. Now, right before I jumped into Halls of Torment, I was playing through Vampire Survivors. As you could tell, if you just scroll back a few videos, I uploaded 2 videos of me doing runs on Vampire Survivors. So, yeah, at the beginning of Vampire Survivors, it was difficult to survive for 30 minutes and reach the end of it. But Halls of Torment is just so much more difficult to survive. And I think it's designed with that intention in mind. It seems like a slower game to start off with. There's more abilities and more traits to upgrade rather than you just going straight for the Rune Tracer, Santa Water, and you know, the big powerful weapons like King Bible, the ones that can carry you pretty much throughout a run in Vampire Survivors. And then you just match those with the relics that allow you to evolve, and you pretty much can play the same thing every time. Now, this game currently has, if I can remember correctly, there's a swordsman class, an archer class, a cleric class, and an exterminator class. I think those are the only 4 that I've unlocked so far. There's also a sorcerer that I know of, as well as... I can't even remember. These classes feel drastically different than the different characters in Vampire Survivors. Because, so the archer is great for range, but they're not so much great for damage, I don't think. The swordsman is great for just a wide cone of attack. The exterminator is awesome if you just want to set the mobs on fire. And the cleric is pretty powerful with their double hit, but there's a pretty sizable cooldown between the firings of this ability. Whereas in Vampire Survivors, you might have one character that starts with a Bible and one character that starts with Santa Water, but you can very easily and very quickly pick up the Santa Water with any of the characters, or you could pick up the Bible with any of the characters. So you very quickly can make all of the different characters in Vampire Survivors essentially play the exact same. Now, you might have a few more you might have a few more revives on a certain character, or a certain character might get experience faster, but overall there's not really a noticeable difference between playing the different characters in that game, other than the one weapon that you're guaranteed to start with. This game, you rely very heavily on your primary attack that you start with. So the swordsman is going to rely very heavily on his sword attack, which is the wide cone. The archer is going to rely very heavily on their bow, and the exterminator is going to rely very heavily on his flamethrower. And there's not really anything you can do about that. Now, all of these classes, they can all get Dragon's Breath, although I'd say that works better for the exterminator, because then you can really synergize with the flame traits to upgrade your flames. And then there's not really that many abilities in the game yet, but I expect that they plan to add a lot more into the game to flesh it out more. There's also items in the game. I know I noticed an item that helps boost your fire damage, so that would be great to throw on your exterminator and then get Dragon's Breath and you're just flaming everybody. Whereas that might not be such a great skill if you play as the swordsman. That might not be such a great item if you play as the swordsman and you don't get Dragon's Breath. It's because you're not dealing any fire damage. There's also an item that will boost lightning damage, which is awesome if you're playing as a character that has a lightning primary, or you get lightning abilities on your run. There is also, in the blessing system, there is a fire blessing and there is a lightning blessing. So you can, if you're just going to play a fire character, you can invest solely into your fire blessing and get your fire damage up. Whereas if you're not going to use fire, don't use that blessing. And then with the lightning blessing, same thing. If you plan to use lightning, you can invest into that. And there's a refund on the blessing system as well, where if you get a blessing that you decide that you don't want to use, you can drop it. I think one thing that is glaringly missing from the items in this game currently is weapons. So you can get a helm, you can get 2 rings, you can get an amulet, and you can get boots, and also, I believe, pants. We need weapons, guys. Okay? If you're listening, add weapons to this game. Now that could drastically change characters, because say you could get different types of flamethrowers for the exterminator or different types of bows for the archer. I also think that we could get more interesting abilities for, say, the swordsman. We could get some abilities that are reminiscent of the barbarian abilities from the Diablo games, or any of that stuff. I think a lot of these abilities kind of scream more magical abilities to me. I think it would be awesome to have a few more pickups on the maps just to make the game a little bit more interesting. And it would be cool if after you get to a certain time point, you're able to use the well again. Like, so you could put an item in the well in the first 10 minutes and the dude pulls it up, and then it takes him like 15 minutes to drop it back down. So at the 25-minute mark, you have the ability to retrieve another item. Now maybe it's just one item to force you to play through and get one item every single time and really think about what you're putting into that well. But I really think, like, logically, the dude should be able to lower the bucket again, and we can just have it be like, you got to survive until the very end if you want to get a second item up. I don't want to get extreme with it and like start allowing 5 items up on each run, because I don't think there's enough items in the game to really justify that, and you don't really pick up that many items anyways in the first place. But yeah, it would be nice if around the 25-minute mark, if you had the ability to well a second item up. This game definitely, it screams Diablo 1, Diablo 2 to me, just with the art style, based off of the fact that this is going for the vibe of the 90s. It certainly should do that. So, I mean, if you've been wanting to play Diablo 4 but you don't have the $70 to drop on it, this is essentially the Diablo that your mom has at home waiting for you for $5. So, if you're a fan of Vampire Survivors, or if you're a fan of Diablo, I definitely recommend picking up this game. I think you'll enjoy it. Even if you're not a fan of those games, which is hard for me to speak to because I'm a huge fan of Diablo 3 as well as Vampire Survivors, I promise you, you will get at least 25 hours of gameplay out of this. And like I said, the game's still in early access. It will have a full release soon. That can only add more content and more playtime to the game. So if you haven't seen it yet, do check out Halls of Torment. It's a very cool game. Very good game, a very fun game, definite recommend, and it's definitely worth the $5 that they're asking for it currently. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.